Picture this. You open your banking app, and instead of the usual stomach drop, you actually feel calm. No mental gymnastics about whether you can buy groceries and fill up your gas tank this week. No silent panic when a bill hits early. That feeling is not reserved for millionaires, okay? And it doesn't require a six-figure salary to get there. There's one specific number that flips the switch in its way, smaller than any financial influencer will ever tell you. That number is $20,000. I'm your host. I'm obsessed with one question. Why do some people naturally build wealth while others seem stuck? Today, we're breaking down the real psychology and math behind that $20,000 threshold and why crossing it changes not just your bank account, but your entire relationship with money, work, and opportunity. If that sounds useful, hit subscribe. Let's get into it. Most conversations about wealth skip straight to the finish line. The $1 million portfolio, passive income dream, the early retirement fantasy. But here's what they miss. Wealth isn't built in one giant leap. It's built by crossing a series of financial thresholds. Invisible lines that, once crossed, fundamentally change how money works for you. The first and most important threshold is $20,000. Think of it like pushing a boulder uphill. Every dollar saved when you're starting from zero feels like maximum effort for minimum progress. The hill is steep, gravity is brutal, and there are moments you want to quit. But the moment that boulder crests the hill, gravity stops working against you. It starts working for you. That's $20,000. That's the crest. Here's the part most finance content completely ignores. The most significant shift at $20,000 isn't mathematical. It's neurological. When you have little to no savings, your brain locks into what psychologists call survival mode. Every financial decision gets filtered through fear. You take bad job offers because you can't wait for better ones. You stay in toxic situations because leaving feels too risky. Your mental energy is consumed by putting out fires, not building anything. Research from Vanguard found that having as little as $2,000 in emergency savings boosts financial well-being by 21%. It's just $2,000. That tiny buffer is enough to start pulling your brain out of pure crisis response. Now push that buffer to 3 to 6 months of expenses, which for most people lands around $20,000, and the shift becomes dramatic. Your brain stops asking, how do I make it to Friday, okay? And starts asking, how do I actually grow this? That's not a small change. That's the difference between being reactive and being strategic. Let's talk numbers, because this is where it gets genuinely exciting. Assume you're saving $1,000 a month with an 8% annual return on your investments. Getting to your first $20,000 takes roughly 19 months. That's a year and a half of discipline, sacrifice, and saying no to things you wanted. Here's where it gets interesting. Your second $20,000 doesn't take another 19 months. It takes about 17 months. Why? Because that first $20,000 is now generating its own returns, working alongside your contributions. It's not just sitting there. You're doing the exact same work, saving the same amount, taking the same level of risk. But the timeline is already shrinking. By your third milestone, it shrinks again and again. By the time your portfolio hits $400,000, your investments alone can generate a fresh $20,000 every 5 months without you lifting a finger. Same amount that took nearly 2 years at the start is now happening automatically on repeat. That's compound interest in action, and it all starts with that first $20,000. Here's a myth worth busting. Wealthy people don't have access to secret investments that ordinary people can't touch, at least not at this level. The real difference is scale. A 10% return on $2,000 is $200. Fine, not life-changing. A 10% return on $20,000 is $2,000. Now, that's meaningful. It's peered at $20,000 invested with an 8% annual return. You're looking at $1,600 flowing in over the year. Money you didn't earn from a job, didn't trade time for, didn't hustle for. Your existing money did it for you. The index funds are the same. The brokerage account is the same. The strategy is the same. The only variable is the amount. And that variable makes everything hit differently. Here's the part that gets underrated. Saving $20,000 from scratch isn't just a financial achievement. It's a character proof. Think about what it actually required. You tracked your spending. You delayed gratification consistently over months or years. You said no to things that felt urgent so you could say yes to something that mattered long term. In doing that, you didn't just accumulate money, you became a different type of person, one who controls money instead of being controlled by it. That identity shift follows you into every financial decision. For $20,000, buying a $4 coffee might have caused genuine anxiety. You're not sweating the small stuff because you've already proven you can make the big sacrifices when it counts. You stop seeing every surprise expense as a crisis. Car repair, annoying, but covered. Laptop dies, time to upgrade. Rent goes up. Maybe it's time to negotiate your salary or find something better. When you have a cushion, obstacles stop being disasters. They become decisions. Okay, something else happens at $20,000. You start noticing opportunities that were always there. You just couldn't act on them before. A friend pitching their startup, distressed rental property with solid upside, career conference your company won't fund. Take me, but your future self would thank you for attending. Before $20,000. Interesting scroll past. After $20,000, let me actually run the numbers on this. This is what people mean when they say money attracts money. It's not mystical, it's practical. Having money gives you options, and options turn into more opportunities to build wealth. Once you cross the $20,000 mark, you'll notice something counterintuitive. You stop obsessing over small expenses and start focusing on big ones. When resources feel scarce, every dollar feels precious. Name brand versus generic cereal, coffee at home versus the cafe. These decisions drain mental energy, but the math is clear. Optimizing every tiny purchase might save you a few $100s a year. Optimizing your housing, income, and investment strategy can swing your net worth by tens of thousands. $20,000 helps you zoom out. You stop micromanaging and start thinking strategically about the decisions that actually move the needle. This one surprises people. $20,000 doesn't just change your finances. It changes your entire relationship with work. When you're living paycheck to paycheck, you're effectively held hostage by your current job. You can't push back. You can't walk away from a toxic environment. Can't take time off to interview for something better. You need that check. $20,000 gives you walking away money. You could quit tomorrow and survive for months while finding something better. You probably won't use it, but knowing it's there completely changes your energy at work. You ask for the raise. You push back on unreasonable demands. You volunteer for stretch projects. And here's the irony. People notice that confidence. It leads to better assignments, more recognition, and yes, more money, which accelerates wealth building even faster. A positive feedback loop built on one solid financial foundation. Okay, real talk. This is where a lot of people sabotage themselves. They hit $20,000, feel that psychological relief, and immediately reward themselves. New car, lavish vacation, down payment on a house they can't really afford yet. Don't do this. That $20,000 is not your reward. It is your foundation. It is the seed that, if left alone and added to, becomes the wealth that changes your family's trajectory. And while we're here, let's talk about cars, because this is one of the biggest wealth destroyers hiding in plain sight between payments, insurance, maintenance, and fuel. The average person spends somewhere between $600 and $800 a month on transportation. Over 40 years, that's potentially $400,000 plus to get around money that could have been growing in the market instead. A new car loses roughly 20% of its value the moment it leaves the lot. Meanwhile, that same money invested in a diversified portfolio would be multiplying. Okay, the person driving the flashy new car, often quietly stressed about money. Okay, the person driving a reliable used car, often quietly building wealth and sleeping fine at night. Once you have $20,000 saved, you start thinking differently about purchases like this. The question shifts from, can I afford the monthly payment, to what is this actually costing me in 20 years? That $30,000 car isn't just $30,000. It's $200,000 that won't be in your portfolio 2 decades from now. $20,000 won't make you rich overnight, but it will change how you think about money, risk, and opportunity. And that shift is worth more than any single investment you'll ever make. It's the difference between surviving your financial life and designing it. Start building that foundation now. Your future self is already counting on the decision you make today. If this gave you a new perspective, drop a comment below. I read every single one. Subscribe if you want more content like this, and I'll see you in the next one.